Hey guys, bit of a somber video today. If you are subscribed, you may have seen a post on my page saying that I would be taking a break due to a loss in the family. Unfortunately, on Saturday, January 15th, 2022, I took a vacation day from work, which doesn't happen. And I went to go pick up lunch, which with DoorDash, that doesn't happen. And when I went to go and pick it up, I saw that there was an accident on one of our main streets in town. And when you drive by an accident, you think, oh gosh, that's awful, or I'll be praying for the family. But what hit me in my heart is I know someone that lives around the corner from this spot, and it's my brother's best friend, and it could be him or my brother, and maybe I'm just being a psycho sister, but I better check. So I pulled into the parking lot, and the officer looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, sir, I just need to know if you have any information of the person who was on that motorcycle in this accident, because I need to know it's not the person that I think it might probably be. And keep in mind, my little brother, he flips cars, he flips bikes for, side work. He'll buy stuff, he'll redo it, he'll sell it, flipping it. And so I didn't know what kind of bike he was riding these days. I just knew that, he had a couple motorcycles at home, and this was a motorcycle accident. He couldn't tell me anything, as it was a fatal accident involving a 20-something male, which already, was not comforting. So I called his friend, and he answered the phone, so I knew he was safe. I asked him if he had heard from my brother, and he had actually heard from him 5-10 minutes before the accident had occurred, or at least been reported, asking if he wanted to hang out, which, considering he lives only a couple blocks down, again, was not comforting. I called my sister, his girlfriend, and she said that he had left on his bike, but didn't know where he went off to. He just went off to ride. Again, not comforting. So I got a picture of the bike because I could see the license plate, and had his friend come down. And I was like, do you have any pictures of the license plate? Turns out that my brother had just bought this bike, and he was already trying to sell it. So it was on a Facebook Marketplace at the time. Him, his girlfriend, and my husband were there. My husband was like his brother when we confirmed that the license plates matched. You always hear about how people will, in ultimate sorrow, yell or scream, or I've never felt such intense heartbreak in my life. And you kind of go into this, maybe someone stole a bike, maybe, but we all knew. We had to wait a couple hours before the coroner arrived and confirmed it was my brother. But the thing about my brother is he lived life to the fullest, and he lived life in the fast lane. Heck, he lived life off the fast lane to get around people that were going too slow in the fast lane. So we all knew that my brother was going to go out the way he wanted. He was always going to go out what he enjoyed doing. We just didn't think it was going to be at 22 years old. It's been a week, and today is his service. We've had family come down from Alabama and Virginia and North Carolina. Family come out from Hawaii. The thing is that my brother lived right down the road from me, and our parents no longer lived in the state. And so I had to be the one to break the news. I had to be the one to start the process and all this. But I think this all happened because he knew his big sister would be able to take care of it. I apologize that this isn't my typical stuff, but because of COVID and everything else, there were a lot of people that couldn't come, and I know that there are going to be a lot of people here. We're finding out just through this last week that my brother touched people's hearts as far as Britain, by the way, which shout out over in Britain for naming his R6 after my brother. Thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, like the tributes and the things people are doing in memory of my brother are already just they're encapsulating this sorrow and heartbreak that me and my family have been feeling, and we just feel such joy and pride for my brother. This is his service. I want you guys to enjoy. Just a little piece of my brother and who he was. And the slideshow I personally put together myself, and I'm really proud of it. I love my brother so much, and I know he knows that, and I'm glad the last thing we said was I love you. So just a reminder to you guys, no matter how angry you are with the people in your life, no matter how distant you are, never forget to say I love you, no matter what. It's so vital. Thank you for being a part of Cody's life. And we would appreciate your prayers and thoughts in this very difficult time in the coming weeks and the coming years as we start to come into acceptance of this. I don't know where I'll be standing after this service when it comes to emotion stability. So while this is the next video that I intend to put out, I may miss a couple after this due to just some healing that I need to do. Thank you to my work for being supportive in this and just being there and willing to do what you have to for me. Thank you to Cody's work and Cody's boss, Chris, for all the tributes that you've put out, and being a third father for my brother, and to anybody else that I can't name right now because my mind is a whirlwind. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. In memory of my brother, I am wearing his sweater, which smells like smoke, exhaust, and his dog Blue, which is kind of amazing.
good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the services.
This is for Cody Tornquist, and I'm Pastor Jim Benedict. I've been here for 23 years. Retired and came back 2.5 years ago, and in 2.5 years, this is the 29th service that I've been a part of. 8 of those directly related to COVID. But you know, one of the hardest services that I ever have to be a part of is when parents and relatives and friends have to bury their children. That's the tough ones. Those are really the tough ones. And we're going to do that this morning and this afternoon. But we want to turn this time over to God and give him his due for what he's going to do through this particular service. Pam's sister Kim will be doing the eulogy. Eulogy is a Greek word which means to speak well of. And that's what we're here for this afternoon, is to speak well of Cody, to remember him and his life. And this really is a celebration of life as well as it is a time of grieving and mourning. So let's give this time over to God. Father God, we just thank you that we're here today to celebrate the life of Cody Tornquist. And Father, it's a life cut short. We know that. We grieve. You've told us in Scripture that in this life we will have trials and tribulations. Apostle Paul said that in this life we will grieve for a little while. Even though we may know our eternal destiny and we may know you and we know what our future is, we still grieve over the loss of people and over the loss of trials and tribulations that we go through. And so, Father, right now we just give this good service completely over to you and pray, Father, that you just use this to honor one of your children, Cody Tornquist. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity we have to celebrate his life this morning, this afternoon. In your name we ask it. Amen.
Amen. I want to thank you for coming here today, this afternoon, as we honor Cody and his family. Cody Dalton Tornquist, known as Code Man or Bro or Bodie, he passed away tragically and unexpectedly in Modesto, doing what he loved on January 15th, 2022 at age 22. Cody is survived by his parents, Pam Howe, and her husband, Bob, Phil Tornquist and his wife, Wendy, his big sister, Heather, and her husband, and Cody's dear friend, Aaron, his stepsisters, Riley, Hunter, and Bailey, his stepbrothers, Chris and Ryan, and the love of his life for the last 5 years, Jenna. To me, Cody was just my little nephew. The little guy, I remember when he was like 5, you know how they tell jokes that don't make any sense? Like, why did the chicken cross the road? Because he ate peanut butter, and then he would crack up, and it didn't make any sense. He had the best birthday parties. Like, if you were a kid, you wanted to get invited to Cody Tornquist's birthday parties. Because his mom had, like, themed tubs all in her garage, and one was like a science party, and there were actual experiments, and then if you did Blue's Clues, you actually had the book and the crayon. Like, she went all out for Cody's birthdays. I remember one year at Christmas, he got a scooter. He was probably 9. That when you put the brakes on, it shot out sparks and like almost looked like flames. And I tried to find a picture of it. It's like no surprise, right? I tried to find a picture of it, but in all the pictures I found, it was just the strip of sparks. There was no Cody because he was going too fast, and you know he didn't have live photos back then, so it was just like, oh, there's where Cody was a minute ago. And I remember him proudly wearing his 4-H uniform that he just. This white, pristine uniform that he was so proud to be a part of. Cody was born on May 11th, 1999 in Fremont, California. He was very wanted and longed for, and he was destined to become the best friend to his big sister, Heather. He graduated from Venture Academy High School, and after graduating, he interned at PG&E, where he tried to figure out, you know, what am I going to do with these passions that I have? Cody had an innate skill and understanding of all things having to do with cars and engines. It wasn't uncommon to find him in the garage when he was a little boy, you know, helping his dad, you know, work on cars. I guess there was even a time where I guess it's called a parts car. You take parts from it and then put it on another car. But Cody somehow got in and released a brake or something, and the car went rolling into the court, and his parents had to run out and stop the car from going into another person's car. I think his first ticket, I'm not saying there's more, some of you might know, I know his first one was riding this little motorcycle through the neighborhood in Ripon, I think. He loved cars, he loved motorcycles, anything that went fast. I think he loved the rush, the adrenaline. I think maybe he even loved the risk of it. The last few years, he was hanging Christmas lights residentially and commercially, and I would talk to him about it like at Christmas a few years ago, or a couple years ago we were talking about it, and he sounded like he was the guy that would be like, oh, you have a 9-story house, got it. Slippery roof, got it. I can't do a harness. Oh, I'm your guy. Like, let's go. You know, he loved it. I think he found it thrilling. Cody's automotive passion led him to restore several bikes and cars over the years, rebuilding them bit by bit. But he was so much more than just sideshow gringo, as he called himself. Cody was loving and thoughtful and sincere. He would just stop by and visit his grandpa. Over Thanksgiving, he stopped and just brought Pam flowers. He would stop by to give a good friend's mom a needed hug. And if you ever got hugged from Cody, you knew that that Cody knew how to hug. It wasn't just like a, hey, what's up? Like, it was a hug, a real hug. He was the type of person that would drop everything to help out a friend. He was driven to reach his life goals, and he was willing to work hard for what he envisioned for his future with Jenna. In the last several years, Cody found a job perfectly suited for him. It combined his love of cars and that sensitive part of his soul that was still very much a kid. He worked at House of Cars in Ripon, and I feel like after meeting everybody, like he found a whole new family. This is a place that draws hobbyists and die-cast car collectors from all over the world. So picture a store filled with like Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars, but not like the kind you just see at Target. They're like cool and like specialized and hard to find. Like, it's such a cool place. I've been reading comments from this community on the House of Cars Facebook page, and just to hear the things they said about Cody, like, they really loved him. They talk about his laugh, his smile, his love of cars. He was so proud of his job. He was so proud of his job, and he loved being a part of that family. This March, Cody was to be inducted into the House of Cars Presidential Hall of Honor, which is an honor given to those in the collecting and hobbyist community who have shown dedication and integrity in the industry. Cody is going to be missed by so many in all of his circles. Everyone here is here because you knew and loved Cody. But there is one thing that is giving us peace and hope in this time. And that is this, that we know that Cody knew Jesus Christ. He was raised with the knowledge that there is a God who loved him. And he asked Jesus into his heart when he was 5 years old. And we know a lot can happen between that childhood proclamation of faith and adulthood. But a few years ago, Cody had another encounter with his God that greatly impacted his life. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world, he so loved Cody, that he gave his one and only son." And he says, "So whoever believes in me will not perish, but will have eternal life." Cody's faith doesn't mean he was perfect. None of us are perfect. He needed the grace and forgiveness of Jesus just like we all do. But because he believed that Jesus was the Son of God sent to save him from his sin and walk him through life, we have the full assurance that he's in heaven right now. And those of us that follow Jesus are going to see him again. That's the goodness and the love of God. He just walked from one room to the next. We're going to walk into that room too and see him again. God loved Cody. And he loves you. Each and every person that's here. And many of you are hurting. I know you're hurting for the loss of Cody, but know that God loves you and he is for you and he will be your comfort in this time. This life wasn't Cody's final chapter. I feel like Cody went from racing on his motorcycle, feeling the adrenaline, to like tumbling into the safe and secure arms of Jesus, just like that. And so we have reason to celebrate. That's why we call this a celebration of life, because we celebrate his life and we celebrate knowing that we know we're going to see him again. Honestly, Cody is more alive right now than you or me. That's the truth that we believe. Yes, we grieve because we're not going to see him this side of heaven. But we also celebrate because we know that he is enjoying the love and the presence of God. And a heaven so amazing our minds can't comprehend it. Like God made Cody love engineering builds and fast things, and that's just who he was. So I'm pretty sure God's going to create something really amazing in heaven for Cody to see and do, and it'll be spectacular. And he won't even get arrested. Check his rearview mirror. God's going to look him up, you know? Cody's sister put together a video of memories and pictures and videos from Cody's life. And so we're going to watch that right now. So please turn your attention to the screen.
Cody, who do you think did it? Who committed the crime? Who stole the Tornquist treasure?
Camera.
The camera did it. Me?
Psych.
Who did it? Who did it, dude? Come on.
Mom!
You think Mom did it? You think Miss Tornquist did it?
Mom or you?
Mom or me?
Yeah,
Okay.
cheapskate.
Who do you think?
Why'd you hand it to me then?
I didn't see it there, it says it's now.
Okay.
Me and Heather made. Grandma and Grandpa are my favorite peeps. Grandpa likes to walk, buddy, down the street. Grandma likes to sit and watch yourselves both together. I think they're pretty dope. Grandma and Grandpa always have my back when everybody thinks I'm wiggity wiggity whack. Grandpa likes it when we play basketball. All I have to do is shoot him a call. Grandpa likes it when he makes his famous pancakes and likes to go fishing down by the lake. He likes to build things with his tools. Overall, I think he's pretty cool. I think Grandma is pretty neat. Her personality is nice and sweet. She likes to drink her cold iced tea while watching her favorite soapy. Grandma and Grandpa love God the most, so tonight let's make a toast. Christmas Eve is full of cheer, so Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. Enjoy the barn all the way to the last one. Okay. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told.
What are you doing?
like that right there. I'm the peak guy. I be doing the peaks that nobody else can do.
Why does a duck have feathers? To cover his butt quack.
Done it.
Welcome to MTV Cribs.
out of my library. Get out of my library.
Seriously, take a picture!
You need to get out of my library right now.
Love you guys.
Drive safe.
I'm glad they eventually turned off my mic so you couldn't hear me sniffling in. Thank you so much, Heather. That was really amazing. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of footage on there that Cody's mom has never seen. Which is good. Some of Cody's friends and family are going to just share some thoughts and memories of Cody over these next few minutes. We have his best friend Brian, his boss of the House of Cards is Chris, and his sister Heather, and his dad Phil. So if you want to just come up one at a time in that order.
Usually I'm able to talk everyone's ears off for quite some time, but please bear with me as obviously this is a hard time for me as it is just everyone else. To introduce myself, my name is Brian. I had the privilege to be Cody's really good friend for so many years, and I was one of the friends that we got in the most trouble with. And let me tell you how special he really is to me. Let me start off with how we first met, or how we first ended up being friends. I grew up in Ripon, and that's when I met Cody. And we butted heads, you know. I lived at the skate park with a few of my buddies, and I was always there, and every day, and this kid came around, and he was just always so confident and cocky and acting like he was running the town. And I was just, who is this kid, you know? Well, you know, he came up to one day, and we kind of bickered back and forth about, you know, who's a better driver and who's faster and all that good stuff. And, you know, we ended up wanting to settle it over a race. The funny part is, my vehicle's broken, as I still have those troubles, and so is his. So we ended up using our mom's vehicles. His mom's a VW Bug, and my mom's Trailblazer SUV. And we raced, and it's still hard for me to admit who won. He did. And don't be too mad, Pam. I went home to my mom and complained that we didn't have a fast enough car. After that moment, we became really close friends. We realized that we both had a lot of things in common. We both loved cars, culture, building stuff. We both had a really big imagination and dreams. And we were both extremely stubborn, as we found out. I remember our first sideshow together. We were really young, and we had no idea what we were doing. But, you know, we somehow ended up in Oakland on High Street. Late at night, our parents obviously have no idea what we're doing. And I just remember, and I'll never forget, we were kind of lost, and we saw a huge cloud of smoke, and we looked at each other, and we smiled, and we were like, we're here. So we went up to the big cloud of smoke, and everyone's looking at us like, who on earth are these kids coming up? And it was in my car. And we did what we practiced for so long, which was him getting out and trusting me, as you saw in the clip before, and he would get right in the middle, and I would do my thing, and he'd always be hyping me up, you know, he was getting the crowd all going. And that continued for so many years. Time went on, and I started my life journey as a young adult, as my parents moved away, and I didn't have too much family with me anymore in the 209 area. But did all my family move away? Absolutely not. Pam, Bob, Aaron, Heather, friends. My full family never really left me. And I was more than grateful to be able to experience those times with you, and I thank you for that. There was never a dull moment with me and Cody. He was always with me. I have so many videos and pictures through my camera roll, and I got kind of upset this last week because I couldn't find too many of us actually together. But he was always in every single one of them because he was always my hype man, as I had also said in the clip. He was the one that was always holding the camera for me. And everyone publicly, over social media and family, knew that he was always with me and always look after me. And I try to be a good role model to him and look over him as well. We both wanted the best for each other. Cody has everything to do with my accomplishments in life. We always kept each other on track. While he motivated me through the years, I definitely had my doubts, and I really have a hard time opening up to too many people, but he was always one person at the end of the day I could do that to. I could do that with. To sum it up, we have to realize that God does beautiful things, and though we may see them as terrible and heartbreaking situations, just know that God has our Cody in his hands, loving him so much. And I really do believe that, and that brings me peace, and I hope it does to all of you guys as well. One last thing. I thought I knew just about everything about Cody. This last week has blown me away, and I think the rest of his family can agree with that, of how big an impact he had on this world. And I'm going to say world because he reached very far beyond what we thought he did. One part of his life that I was not able to experience was his job, his work. And he would always come home with stories of his coworkers and his boss always being there for him. And I never quite really understood that, why he was so happy at the end of the day and why on earth. I even tried him to come work for me and he would not budge. But now I understand. He had a family as well, and that's just something I got to experience this week, and I am very blessed to meet his business side of things. That's amazing, and you guys seem to have his back just as everyone else did. Cody, and these are words I would tell him. You have done your part beautifully. You have loved, you have supported, and you've brought so much happiness. You have supported me in all that I do, and I thank you so much, words can't even express. You showed me what a real friend is. I'll never forget our plans, our wild thinking, our commitment and trust with each other. Fly high, rest easy, and let me take it on from here. And as we both came up with this quote together, I try to live by it every day, and that is be better than yesterday and improve for tomorrow. Thank you.
Interesting story I want to share really quick before I get into what I wrote here. I shared it with the family. My wife and I were happy to hire Cody in 2018. First day on the job, Cody showed up at his normal 10-minute late time. It was being on time for him. And our guys had already left for the day to start work, and he said, well, I'll go to wherever they are. It was at the Elk Grove Auto Mall. And he said, I'll go. And I said, that's great. Head on out there. About 45 minutes goes by, and here comes Cody back, breathing really hard. And I said, what's going on? And I had a little incident, and I got on the freeway, and CHP got behind me. I just continued to accelerate. And now I'm here, and then I started to hear the sirens. And I quickly realized that I didn't gain an employee that day because I hid him in our warehouse to actually gain the son. Cody impacted our lives so much. He wrecked our Suburban. But in true Cody form, he swore it wasn't his fault. He shipped hundreds of boxes with wrong product, but swore it wasn't him, even though the initials on the box that went out were his. Insisted it wasn't his initials. I wrote down every excuse he gave us each time he was late every day, just so I could learn some new ones for the future for myself. He made mistakes, and he wasn't perfect. None of us are. We loved him more every time he made those mistakes. He would always listen to the lecture and say, I'll try harder. This young man changed our life in so many good ways. He taught us a lot about not being perfect and just being genuine. Cody never complained. He came to our rescue on so many occasions. Like I said, he was always on time, 10 minutes late for him, or on time for him, 10 minutes late for us. Warren and I loved him like he was our own son, though. We would sit and have lecture time at our kitchen table and try to always get him to see the bigger picture in life. He grew from those conversations right before our eyes. He began to grow into a better person every single day. We made sure we told him how much we loved him every time we lectured him. We wanted him to know that we spoke to him as someone who truly cared for him and what his life could be. We believe that the final act of compassion, respect, and love from Cody's heart to all of us is standing right in front of us today. Cody is giving us the greatest gift he could provide to any of us in its entirety, and it's time. Time to reflect how important we are to each other. Time to understand that we should talk and see other outside of these circumstances. We should share, love, and respect each other just in the same way in circumstances that Cody did for us. Time is what we challenge you all to make, to change, to embrace, and to love each other through more time together. To Jenna, Cody loved you. He always had your best interests in his heart, and he would share that with us all the time. My hope in life is to have someone like Cody love my daughter the way Cody loved you. It was genuine and real. In closing, I want the friends and family of Cody to know how much of an impact your son, friend, and family member made on us. He loved our kids like they were his brothers and sisters, his co-workers like they were his family. He never said a bad word about anyone. He just loved life. He made an impact on our life that only a high-caliber person can make. Although Cody wasn't our own, we never thought of him any different. He was part of our family. He will always be loved, never forgotten, and always respected.
So when I was 7 years old, our parents told me I was getting a little brother or sister. And as a 7-year-old, you think that you have, an option on whether to leave. And well, I wanted a sister, so. But until I felt Cody kick for the first time, that's what I thought I was getting. I knew from that moment that I felt the kick at 7 years old until delivery day, whenever anyone asked, Heather, do you think it's a brother or sister? I would say the same thing. I want a sister, but I'm not getting a brother. As a child, you were simply one thing, a boy. Messy, smelly, loud, and you loved to get under my skin. Looking back now, I wouldn't have it any other way. It didn't take long for you to be fascinated with anything on wheels. Cars, bikes, monster trucks, scooters. If it had wheels, that was all you. I couldn't even enjoy my scooter that I got from Santa before you grabbed it for yourself, and you were only 2. And when Santa got you a Hot Wheels Jeep when you were old enough, you could care less about all the other presents under the tree. And Mom and Dad contemplated on saving them for next year. Your place was in the garage from the time you picked up a wrench and tried to help Dad under the Chevelle to working on your own projects and flipping them every other week. One thing that started when you were growing into double digits that we never seemed to grow out of was practical jokes. I would lock my door and lock you out because I was an angsty preteen, and you would lock me into my room by removing my doorknob, and I could not get out. And for revenge, I would put a spa peeling mask on your face while you were sleeping, and you thought you were shedding like a reptile when you woke up. And then you would go into my room and turn my stereo all the way up, so when I got home, it would be full blast when I powered it on when I got home, scaring the crap out of me. And then, in revenge of that, I told you I was a spy in the car because you wouldn't stop talking, and people were listening, and I was undercover, so you had to be quiet. And it would drive me nuts. Which I win because you believed that story for about 4 years before I came clean. When we became adults, it was no better. I would put something on OfferUp to get rid of, and you would go and find it and message me ridiculous questions to mess with me, which I absolutely fell for. And I told you to try licking a Nintendo Switch cartridge because it tasted fruity, which, fun fact, it tastes extremely bitter to keep kids from putting them in their mouth and choking, so that was fun. Goofy and funny are more words to describe you. But in between the pranks, there was always the random acts of kindness. You have a big heart and love hard. You leave notes on our driver's side windows in the morning on your way to school, or hand-cut paper hearts and leave notes saying how much you love us, catching us off guard and making our day. When you showed kindness to others, they felt it because it was never an empty gesture. It always meant something. and you were so supportive of others' passions because you are a dreamer yourself. When it came to my photography, you were always happy to step in front of the camera when inspiration struck, or help me get my shots for my YouTube channel. Our adventures of trespassing in photography were some of my favorite times with you. Like when Cody, Jenna, and I went to the secret sidewalk just to find out that we weren't the first generation of Tornquists to go and hang out and make our mark there. Or that time I was an absolute wussy at the Crow's Landing airstrip to get some long exposure night shots, but you were fearless as always and jumped right into an abandoned radio tower for me to get some creepy and hilarious footage. And then when I heard coyotes in the pitch black at night and said, "What if one comes out?" your response was, "Psh, I'm not even worried about that. I'll be kicking some coyote butt." Fearless and stubborn are some other words that describe you to a T. Through the years, there was sibling rivalry. There were times we couldn't stand each other, where we got annoyed, where we acted like we didn't care. But I'm so thankful that we were raised to always say, "I love you," even when we didn't feel like saying it. And in recent years, we grew close, closer than we've ever been. And I wouldn't trade those days for anything in the whole wide world. Your texts of, "I'm thankful to have an extremely amazing big sister to go for advice or ask questions. Thank you for being there for me. I am glad to have you as my sister. Love you," that I thank God I screenshot and saved, will be one of the things I hold near and dear for the rest of my life, until I can wrap my arms around you again. I love you more than you could ever know, and I will miss you more than anyone could understand, bro. And you better believe when I see clouds in the sky, I'm going to be thinking of you spinning donuts in your dream eclipse that you can't blow up there in heaven. And two more words to describe you are legendary and unforgettable. Because can I just say how amazing it is that so many of you showed up today, because in the 22 years my brother walked this earth, he clearly made a bigger impact than most. So take the gift that he gave you and make sure to make that impact on others in return of the favor. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming to honor my little brother today. Seriously, thank you so, so much.
I know a lot of you over the years. I've met a lot of you just recently. And I'm so appreciative to see you here today. It helps me know how big of an impact my son made in this world. I keep telling people when we raise our kids, we see them interact with their friends on a daily basis. We know what they're doing. We know who they're hanging out with. When they get older, we kind of lose sight of that. It's maybe not because we want to. It's just because they've moved into a different area of their life. And we worry about them. We worry about who they're hanging out with, the influences being made on them. Are they making the right decisions? And nobody's perfect. But all the people I've met who are now family that Cody made an impact on, I know these were good people. Cody loved these people. They loved Cody. And it's so overwhelming hearing the stories. I left Alabama 5 days ago to come out here. My heart was overwhelmed with grief and pain. I needed the time on the road to be alone, to process it. After meeting so many of you and hearing the stories and the love and the pain that you now carry, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. My heart is so overwhelmed with pride and joy for my son. So I thank you for that. I know Cody's in a better place. I'm not quite sure if heaven was ready for Cody. But I know that as a believer in Christ, Psalm 116 verse 15 says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints." Cody wasn't perfect, but Cody knew who his Savior was. Cody was genuine with everyone he met. this Cody, that Cody. Oh, I knew that Cody. Oh, I knew this Cody. Cody was straight down the middle, the same every day with every person. He had a heart of gold. It was so genuine. I look at what he's done over his 22 years, and I think back then, when I was 22, I may have had a half dozen friends, and half of them thought I was a jerk. Cody was so well loved, and just was he made such an influence on people, and other people made an influence on him, and I'm finding it. It's hard. I never thought I'd be in this position. We don't plan for it. I've said this before, so I urge all of you who have kids or are old enough who you can have this discussion with, find out what their thoughts are on the plan after, in case you lose them. And don't go into it blind. Everything, God had his hand in everything once I got out here, and it just it smoothed out. We're so fortunate as a family that we're able to work together, that we love each other so much that we came into agreement without any hiccups and without any gaps and dissension created between us. I'm so thankful for that. Like I said, I never thought I'd be in this position. I thought I'd be the one catching Cody up when he got there. And now he's going to be catching me up. I'm sure when I get there on the other side of the gates, I'm going to get a snake eye and I'm going to go, "This is your son?" And I will joyfully and wonderfully admit, with as much pride as is in my heart today, yes, that is my son. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. I'm sure you miss him dearly like I do. And this isn't a goodbye for Cody. This is not a place to say goodbye for Cody. This is a place to celebrate Cody, because Cody will be with us forever. Thank you all.
We wanted to set aside a little bit of time with this microphone down here. If there was somebody that just had a specific memory or a thought of Cody or your feelings about Cody that you wanted to share in this time, we wanted to leave a little bit of time to offer that. And so we've heard so many incredible stories. It's been so fun for us that really saw Cody on holidays and knew him as Nephew Cody, and he's got this cool job, but hi, love you, okay, bye, I love you, you just don't even think. But we've heard so many different angles of who he was as a friend and a coworker, and it's just been the coolest. It's been the coolest thing. So we wanted to give an opportunity for any more stories. If there is something that you want to share, it doesn't have to be prepared. It can just be a thought or a sentiment or a memory of Cody. Then we're just going to, this mic right here, you don't even have to come up here. You can just walk right here and just share a thought or a memory of Cody.
My name's Kim. I am Noah's mom over there. And Noah and Cody have been best friends for quite some time. First of all, I'd just like to, my heart breaks with your family. There's something that happened about 4 months ago that I just want to share with all of you. I really wanted to share with Pam, but I want you to hear this. My best friend passed away from COVID and pneumonia. I was by his side for 2 months in the hospital. And 2 days after he passed away, my parents were at my house from Nebraska, and the door was ringing and nobody was answering it. So I got irritated. It's like, I'll go answer it. I didn't really want to see anybody. Cody was out at the door. And I was shocked. I was like, what are you doing here? I didn't know if he even knew what had happened. And he said, there's no other place I'd rather be. Noah just told me what happened. The last time I saw Cody before that was at the end of June when my son came out. We were all, my best friend, my daughter, my son, a couple other friends, Jenna, Cody, we were all at dinner. We had such a great time. I want to share something with you. When he came to my home when my granny passed away, part of our conversation was, you have to understand, I had only slept 2 to 3 hours a night in probably 2 months. I just suffered COVID so bad I should have been in the hospital. My oxygen was 80 for 5 days. I had been struggling trying to keep my health up while I was preparing to be by my friend's side for 2 months. I said to Cody, there's nothing else that matters to me anymore. The only thing that matters to me is that everybody that I know and love, I'm going to see them in heaven, that they've accepted Jesus Christ in their heart. He told me, don't worry about me, I'm going to be there. That's what's giving me peace right now. And I know that He'd want each and every one of you to be there with us. So, I love you guys.
I had the pleasure of growing up with Cody. Miss Pam was my hairdresser when I was little, and her and my mom became great friends. And they got us all in a church together. When Cody was attending high school, I was in elementary, and we got to take him home a lot of times. He would answer silly questions for me and my sister, but most of the time in the car, he would teach us about cars that we saw going by, or if he saw us spray paint on the street or on trains or anything. And he would teach us all about it, telling us what colors they should have used, what techniques they should have done, how the letters should have been written, and just tell us all about them every day. And I still think of those when I go by and spray paint on the drains and stuff. I think of the little conversations and everything.
Cody was my best friend, and no one ever understood me as much as he did. And it's really hard to come up here and just pick one good memory because there's so many that make you laugh. There's so many moments. I remember I used to go over to his house every day. He'd get mad at me. I'd eat all his snacks. Honestly, I've never had a friend like him before, and no one will ever replace him, and it does give me peace knowing that we will all see him someday again. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm not that good with words. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Cody was my coworker. I ain't known for that long, but he was a good dude, Phil. And mom's got a good son. Like, seriously. Told you that last night, we never backed down for nothing, man. That was my first time meeting him at work. Another coworker of ours thought he urinated on his motorcycle. Forgetting that Cody's a motorcycle guy himself. And he's a little guy, man. That was my little friend. So, my other coworker, I know he's here somewhere. Just don't see him. My boy right there, man. That's the guy that taught me to Cody. I was gonna whoop somebody's butt for Cody, man. First thing I wanted to do. I told you last night, I was gonna kick somebody's butt for him, man. He's a little guy, and I'm a big guy, so I'm gonna take my little guy. Wait, nothing happened to Cody. I think I mentioned it. I didn't notice that you raised a strong young man, and he had his own back. He had something by his side. That boy would have touched him, he would do what he was supposed to do. And I noticed afterwards. And that showed me something that I never knew about him. And every day he came to work, not days, weeks, months. We worked, we bust our butts. You guys was a strong young man, and it's crazy I've been home for a short amount of time, but I feel like
just want to say thank you for real because your son impacted everything that we do. Still to this day. My car's outside because of him, right? We even bought that car for real. I'm gonna make sure you do it. At work, not gonna be the second. He's a hard-working man. He showed me stuff that I never. I'm 37. He's 57. Like seriously, man, he has the biggest heart, man. Like, oh my gosh, man. Like, I know he's in a better place watching over all of us. And you know, I don't know his whole family, but we all here out for Cody, man. I know you guys love him. We just want to extend our love to you guys as well. And just know that he's up there burning donuts, doing everything, man. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. Like, I'm not playing. I'm going to burn the donuts on me camera tonight.
This has been very interesting, hasn't it? How would you like to be a grandpa to a guy like that? He was more fun. I came over to his home over here in town over, and the garage was full of bicycle parts. He takes the bicycles all apart and puts them back together. I know. He's good at it too. And now he started taking cars apart. And anything he got a hold of, he made it better. So, and that's the way he's made the life of a lot of people. He made a lot of them better. And you know, he always liked to go bike riding. Well, I had a bike. Thank you for having that. But I hadn't ridden it for years. I was probably 76 years old. And he said, let's go riding. I said, okay, so I got the air in the tires and took it out of the shed. And I said, where do you want to go? He said, I want to go downtown. So we got on that trail over there where they got stoplights now, so when you're going down Lathrop, it'll stop you while people walk across. Took me all the way downtown. And I hadn't ridden a bike for quite some time. So then he says, oh, there's a bike racetrack over here. So we get over there, and it is a racetrack. He can get off, we got up under where you start off, you know, and he'd get right up at the top of that end down at the corner. I was down at the bottom. But so he was so much fun. He really was fun. And shooting basketball out here on we had a basketball place where I live in Del Webb. And he got pretty good. I didn't let him win for a while, but then I started letting him win. He really felt good. So that was a real pleasure too. And what was the other thing I was going to mention to you about him? See if I put a note down here. Oh, we played golf together too. We had his own golf club. And we putted in the putting, 18-hole putting course. He got really good at it. So he was enjoying something that he'd never done before. And it was really fun. And then one of the best things that ever happened to me with Cody, one Christmas Eve at our home, we were having a Christmas, you know, we get together every Christmas, the whole family, and open gifts on Christmas Eve. And he come up to me and he says, Grandpa, I invited Jesus in my heart. I mean, that was the best thing he's ever told me. But you know, he never forgot that. About a month ago, I had the nicest visit. I had many visits with him at my home. We had a good relationship. He came over on his motorcycle or his bike or his car. I knew all about his cars. He could spin them around. He was so good at it. He put out so many tires. The people that made tires really wanted to find out if they could make them a better tire. Unbelievable. Anyway, he was always a lot of fun, and enjoyed him. And he really did love the Lord. And you know something? None of us are perfect. We never were. If you think you were, I think you're going to be surprised someday. But God is so good at His grace. No matter what mistakes we make, He's there to take care of us. And I have these little tracts. It's called Steps to Peace with God. To anyone here today that did not have peace with God, I know He would like me to say this. There's some of these laying out there on a table, and it's just the Steps to Peace with God. It's the simplest approach. It's put out by Billy Graham, and Billy Graham was one of the best. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed the time here, and I'm just impressed with all the wonderful people that came out. Thank you so much.
And, you know, Cody came into our lives 5 years ago. And as the parents of a really pretty daughter, we just always had fear.
Thanks a lot.
You know, he was, I hate to say this about, we love him so much, but I hate to say it, when he came into our lives, he was our worst nightmare. And there was just really, there was nothing we could do about Cody because he came in and I knew something was up because Jenna couldn't stop talking about cars. And I was like, I didn't know you liked cars, okay. And, you know, you could just tell her mind was elsewhere. And I knew then she wasn't coming back to us. And we, you know, as parents, we fought it and we tried to get in the way and stop her. But there was just, we couldn't so fast, there was nothing we could do. We didn't see him for quite a few months because we heard his car, but we couldn't see him. We didn't know what he looked like. But Mikey might have caught him. But you know, she was gone. She was gone, and we were trying to raise her right, and we were so worried and concerned. And I was throwing fits. He was throwing fits, and you know, finally it came time where we had to put ourselves, you know, we had to step outside of our comfort zone and have Cody come down. And you know, he came. We were camping somewhere and he showed up, and right away I knew, you know, first of all I could tell he was raised right with good family because he had manners, and it wasn't just that he was being smooth, you could see he was raised right. He treated us with respect and he was so good to Jenna, and you know, we're like, okay, well, that's how you should be to our daughter, but you know, time just went by and we let him in slowly, and like I said, our guard was up. You know, our baby, she's my baby. But he showed in every way that he had so much integrity, honor, and he loved our babies so much. And we had plans for him. You know, we made plans for him, and we intend to still make him proud. We intend to help Jenna continue to make him proud, but I'm just so thankful for the influence that he had on our daughter because it was good. And I mean, it's just so ironic that, you know, our worst nightmare became a dream come true. And he really was. And now, you know, and most recently, they got, you know, of course, young couples, they get in fights, and Jenna's always on the phone and she's telling me crazy stuff, and I'm like, you better not lose Cody, you better not do it. And I would not even just taking her side, but her side, and her best interest was to have Cody around because he took such good care of her. He was always looking out for her. So I just want to thank all of his family for doing such a good job with your boy.
If I'm going to get through this. I had the privilege of living with Cody for a short time, thanks to my dear friend Pam. What can I say about Cody is Cody was a man ahead of his times. I can't tell you how many debates we had over that there really is a left and a right sock. Cody would get ready for school and he'd throw stuff in the dryer because he wanted warm to wear before you go to school. And he'd say, hey, can you grab my clothes? And I'd say, sure. I'd grab him and he goes, that's 2 right socks. I was like, Cody, they're the same socks. They look the same. He goes, no, there's a left and a right. He was ahead of his time because Nike shortly came out with a left and a right sock. And I have running socks now to this day. When I look at them, I think of Cody because that has an L and an R on it. So yes, he was ahead of his times. When it comes to cars and taking things apart, Cody was the MacGyver of cars. He would, if he didn't have a part, oh, this looks good, we'll just make it work and we'll put it together and we'll make it work. And surprisingly, it did. It really did. Pam worked late nights and I had the privilege of having dinners with Cody. It was just him and I would cook and we'd have some great conversations, and he just really knew how to lighten up your day, brighten it. He would smile, it was very infectious. And one thing, he really loved his sunflower seeds. If you wanted to know where Cody had been or was going, all you had to do was follow the sunflower seeds, and sure enough, you could find exactly where he was. But when it comes to his heart, Cody did have a really big heart. He loved hard, he loved everybody. He just loved life. He's probably a 7 on the Enneagram, because I can relate to that. But I thank you, Pam, for giving me that opportunity to be embedded in your son's life, Phil. great conversations on the way home from school, picking him up, and just a great kid. And I still can't believe that he's not with us anymore, but I will remember him always. So,
in 1 John chapter 4, starting in verse 9, it says, "This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world, that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. I cannot tell you how many people have said in this last week, have talked about Cody's thoughtfulness, Cody's loving nature, Cody's genuine care and feeling for people, his loyalty as a friend. Cody walked in this kind of love at the age of 22 because Jesus was a part of his life, because God was working in his life. Since God so loved Cody, that love poured out and he loved others. His family at work, his family here, the kids of his bosses, like he loved well. I'm going to close with a benediction, which is simply a parting blessing to everyone that's here. But first I wanted to share a quote that Heather shared with me. It's been attributed to Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious franchise, which should not surprise you at all, were Cody's favorite movies. And this is what it says. If one day speed kills me, don't cry, because I was smiling. Which I know Cody was loving, going fast with his motorcycle before he fell into Jesus. I'm going to close with this blessing out of the book of Numbers. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. I want to encourage you to please hold this family. Please hold this family and hug this family and these young men and his bosses from work, because for a lot of us, a lot of people here in 6 months, this will start to fade, this loss. But they do not have that luxury. This is not going to fade at 6 months or a year or at 2 years. This is going to be something that is a continual thing. So don't forget to reach out. Don't forget to hug. Don't forget to check in. Brian, Jenna, family, work, these young men that I've been seeing that loved Cody. Remember Cody. Remember his family and check in with them and let them know you remember Cody. Don't ever forget that he was here and the impact that he had. Thank you so much for coming. It means so much to us as his family. We've all been so blessed to meet so many of you and hear your stories. And I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm just honored that I got to be a part of this thing. So thank you for coming, and we hope to see you at the reception.
Amen.